Welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive?
Always ready to unearth some fascinating stories.
Today, we're taking a closer look at the life of Dame Diana Rigg.
Ah, a true icon, from Doncaster to the world stage.
Exactly. We've got biographies, articles, interviews, the whole works. And trust me, her story is anything but ordinary.
Well, let's not forget, she spent part of her childhood in India.
Oh, that's right. Born in Doncaster in 38, but then a chunk of her early years in India. You know, it makes you wonder, did that experience shape her adaptability later on? That ability to just slip into different roles so seamlessly?
It's a fascinating thought, isn't it? Imagine that early exposure to a completely different culture. The sights, the sounds, the way of life, so different from Yorkshire.
Right. It's like her childhood was this unexpected training ground for a life of reinvention.
And then, of course, she comes back to England and hones her craft at the Royal Academy of Dramatic Art.
Talk about prestigious. And then the Royal Shakespeare Company, too.
Oh, absolutely. She had some serious classical training under her belt. But then, boom, 1965 rolls around and she lands the role of Emma Peel in The Avengers.
Emma Peel. Those leather catsuits, the gadgets, the witty banter. She became a global sensation. But she brought so much more to that role than just style, wouldn't you say?
Oh, without a doubt.
Mm.
Diana infused Emma Peel with intelligence, strength, a real sense of agency. It was groundbreaking for female characters on television at the time.
She was challenging those stereotypes left and right, showing that women could be just as capable, just as clever, and, let's be honest, even more stylish than their male counterparts.
She became a role model for a whole generation, showing that women could be both strong and feminine.
It's inspiring to think about the impact she had, especially considering what she faced behind the scenes. I mean, she was quite vocal about the pay gap between her and her male co-star.
It's a sad reality, even for someone at the height of their fame. And imagine the pressure of dealing with that kind of public scrutiny, on top of the demands of the role itself. It couldn't have been easy.
You have to wonder, how does she navigate those challenges? Did she ever talk about how she coped with the pressures of fame?
Well, she definitely had this resilience about her, a kind of inner strength that allowed her to push through. And she didn't shy away from speaking her mind about the inequalities she faced. Instead of letting it break her, she used those experiences to fuel her determination.
It's almost like she turned those obstacles into stepping stones. And that leads us to a really interesting aspect of her story. Diana Rigg's ability to not just overcome challenges, but to actually use them as opportunities for growth. It's something we can all learn from.
Absolutely, and this is where the concept of a growth mindset comes into play.
Oh, I've heard of that. It's about believing that you can develop your abilities, right? That you're not limited by your current skill set.
Exactly. It's the idea that intelligence and talent aren't fixed, but can be cultivated through effort and learning. And Diana's career is a perfect example of this in action. She could have easily stayed within her comfort zone, stuck to the roles she knew.
Right, just kept playing variations of Emma Peel.
But that wasn't her style at all. She took on Shakespeare, she did Broadway musicals, she even became a Bond girl.
Countess Teresa di Vincenzo and On Her Majesty's Secret Service. Talk about range.
Exactly. She was constantly pushing her boundaries, proving that she wasn't defined by any one role or genre.
It's like she was saying, I'm not going to let anyone put me in a box. I'm going to keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing.
And that's the essence of a growth mindset. It's about embracing challenges as opportunities for development, rather than shying away from them.
So it's not just about talent, it's about that willingness to step outside of your comfort zone and that drive to evolve, to keep reinventing herself. That continued even decades later.
Oh, absolutely. Think about her role as Olenna Tyrell in Game of Thrones.
The Queen of Thorns. She absolutely stole every scene she was in. It's amazing how she managed to capture the hearts of a whole new generation of fans years after her Avengers days.
It's a testament to her talent and her ability to connect with audiences across generations, but it also speaks volumes about her commitment to growth. She never stopped learning, never stopped pushing herself.
It's really inspiring when you think about it. Her story goes beyond the glitz and glamour of show business. It's a testament to the human spirit's capacity to not just survive, but to thrive in the face of adversity.
And that's what makes her story so relevant to all of us. We all face challenges, we all have moments of doubt, but Diana Rigg's journey reminds us that it's possible to not just overcome those obstacles, but to use them as fuel for growth.
And that's what we're going to explore further as we continue our deep dive into the life of this extraordinary actress.
So stick with us, because there are plenty more insights and inspiration to uncover. So we've seen how Diana's career was this amazing tapestry of different roles and genres.
Right, from Shakespeare to the Avengers to Bond Girl to Game of Thrones.
And it wasn't just about, checking boxes or adding lines to her resume. There was this deeper drive there.
That growth mindset we were talking
Yeah,
about.
exactly. Remember, it's not just about being positive. It's about believing in your ability to, well, grow, to learn, to adapt. Diana was a classically trained actress.
Oh, she had Shakespeare practically running through her veins.
And yet, she never let that limit her. She embraced film, television, different styles of acting. She was constantly adding tools to her toolkit, showing that, we're not bound by our past experiences. We can keep learning, keep evolving.
It's like she was saying, I'm not defined by what I've done before. I'm open to new possibilities. It's pretty empowering, actually. But how do we actually apply this growth mindset in our own lives? Say you're facing a challenge, something that seems really daunting.
Well, one technique that can be really helpful is called cognitive reframing. It's a core principle of cognitive behavioral therapy, or CBT.
CBT, I've heard of that.
Yeah.
It's about changing your thoughts to change your feelings, right?
That's a big part of it. Cognitive reframing is about consciously choosing to look at a situation from a different angle. Take Diana's experience with being underpaid on The Avengers compared to her male co-star. Must have been incredibly frustrating.
Oh, absolutely. Especially knowing how crucial she was to the show's success.
So instead of getting stuck in that feeling of unfairness, she could have used cognitive reframing to shift her perspective. Maybe thinking, okay, this is an opportunity to advocate for myself and for other women in the industry, or this experience will make me even more determined to succeed on my own terms. It's about finding a more empowering way to view the situation, even if the situation itself is, well, less than ideal.
So it's not about pretending the problem doesn't exist. It's about finding a way to think about it that helps you move forward.
Exactly. You're taking control of your narrative, even in challenging circumstances. But, even with the best mindset, sometimes we get stuck, overwhelmed, unmotivated, unsure of where to even start.
Oh, believe me, I've been there. That feeling of being stuck in the mud, it can be paralyzing.
And that's where behavioral activation comes in. It's a fancy way of saying just do something, even if it's small. Instead of getting paralyzed by the enormity of a task, you break it down into smaller, more manageable chunks.
So if I'm feeling intimidated by a big project at work, instead of trying to tackle the whole thing at once, I could just start by outlining the first few steps.
Exactly. And each small step you take reinforces that belief that you can do this, that you're capable of making progress. Diana's career, if you think about it, was a series of these small wins, each role building on the last. She didn't become a global icon overnight. It was a gradual process of taking on new challenges and proving herself time and again.
It's a reminder that big achievements are often built on a foundation of smaller ones.
Absolutely. But, even with the best intentions, we all stumble sometimes. We make mistakes. We face criticism. We fall short of our goals. And that's where things can get really tricky.
It's true. It's easy to get discouraged, to start doubting yourself when things don't go as planned. How did Diana handle those inevitable setbacks?
Well, she was known for being quite outspoken about the challenges she faced, especially as a woman in a male-dominated industry. She didn't shy away from calling out unfair treatment or advocating for herself and others.
So she didn't just stay silent. She used her voice to push for change.
And that takes courage, especially when you're putting yourself out there knowing you might face backlash. But instead of letting those negative experiences define her, she used them as fuel.
That's such a powerful way to look at criticism. Instead of seeing it as a personal attack, she saw it as an opportunity to stand up for what she believed in, to fight for something bigger than herself.
And I think that's a key part of resilience, right? That ability to not just bounce back from setbacks, but to use them as motivation to grow, to learn, to become even stronger. But that kind of confidence, it doesn't always come easily.
No, it definitely doesn't. How do we cultivate that self-belief, that ability to not let criticism crush us?
Well, it starts with self-compassion. And Diana seemed to have this in spades. She had a strong sense of self-worth, even when facing negativity or setbacks. It's like she knew her value, regardless of what others might say or think.
So it's about being kind to ourselves, even when we mess up, not beating ourselves up over our mistakes.
Exactly. Think about it. You wouldn't berate a friend for making a mistake, would you? You'd offer them support and encouragement. We need to extend that same kindness to ourselves. We're all human. We all make mistakes. It doesn't diminish our worth.
It's a reminder that we're all works in progress, always learning and growing. But I imagine that kind of self-acceptance is especially important in a career as demanding and public as acting.
Absolutely. And, one of Diana's most endearing qualities was her sense of humor, that sharp wit, that ability to find the absurdity in any situation. I think that played a huge role in her ability to navigate the pressures of fame and the ups and downs of her career.
I can just picture her delivering one of her witty lines with a twinkle in her eye. It's like she was saying, yeah, life is a bit crazy, but let's not take it too seriously.
And that's a lesson worth remembering for all of us. Humor is such a powerful tool. It can help us manage stress, gain perspective, and remember that even when things are tough, there's always room for a little lightness.
It's amazing how much we can learn from one person's life, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
And Diana Rigg's story, it's packed with these little nuggets of wisdom, almost like a master class in resilience and navigating life's ups and downs.
We've got the growth mindset, the reframing, the self-compassion, even the power of humor. But is there anything else we can glean from her journey?
Well, one thing that really stands out to me is her sense of adventure. She never shied away from new experiences, always seemed eager to step outside of her comfort zone. Think about those transitions in her career. Shakespearean theater to the Avengers, then Broadway, Bond films, and even Game of Thrones.
It's true. Each one of those was a completely different world, a new set of challenges. She must have had to learn and adapt constantly.
And she did it with a sense of curiosity, almost like she's approaching each new experience as an exciting adventure rather than something to be feared.
That's a great way to look at it. Instead of seeing change as a threat, we can embrace it as an opportunity for growth.
Exactly. Like,
Yeah.
imagine thinking, okay, this is new, this is different, but I'm going to dive in and see what I can learn.
It's like turning anxiety into excitement.
Right. But, even the most adventurous among us, we need a little help sometimes.
It's true. I can't imagine Diana went through all of those career changes completely solo. Did she ever talk about the importance of having a support system?
Oh, absolutely.
Mhm.
She often spoke about the value of her close relationships with fellow actors, directors, friends, family. Having people you can rely on who believe in you, it makes all the difference, especially when you're facing big challenges.
It's like having your own personal cheerleading squad, reminding you that you're not alone in this crazy journey.
Exactly. But even with the best support system, sometimes staying motivated can be tough, especially when you're facing a big goal that seems miles away.
It's so easy to get discouraged, to lose sight at the finish line.
Well, think about Diana's career. It wasn't like she became a global superstar overnight. It was a series of smaller successes, building upon each other. Honing her craft in the theater, then gaining recognition in the Avengers, continuing to take on diverse roles that showcased her talent. Each experience played a part in her overall success.
So it's not just about focusing on that end goal, it's about recognizing and celebrating those smaller milestones along the way.
Exactly. Each little victory, whether it's mastering a new skill, finishing a challenging project, or just pushing yourself a little further out of your comfort zone, it's a step in the right direction.
And acknowledging those achievements, no matter how small, it can help us stay motivated, right?
Absolutely. It reinforces that belief that we're capable of achieving great things even when those great things seem really far off. It's like that saying, a journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step.
And we need to celebrate each of those steps along the way. So as we wrap up our deep dive into the life of Dame Diana Rigg, we're left with this incredible tapestry of insights and inspiration. She wasn't just a talented actress, she was a living example of resilience, adaptability, and a commitment to growth that continued throughout her entire life.
It's a powerful reminder that we all have that potential within us, that we can choose to embrace challenges, learn from our mistakes, and keep evolving no matter what life throws our way.
And maybe, just maybe, we can do it all with a little bit of that Diana Rigg wit and humor, too.
Now that would be something.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and remember, the journey doesn't end here.
Keep exploring, keep learning, keep growing.